The automatic doors of Orion Station Medical Center opened with a soft hiss. It was a sound that happened 1,000 times every day. Patients came and went. Doctors rushed between rooms. Nurses checked their data pads and called out names. It was normal. It was routine. But on this day, when those doors opened, everything stopped. Every creature in the waiting area turned to look. A Kalari nurse dropped her scanner. A Muva child hid behind its mother. Two Vorn security officers reached for their weapons before freezing in place. For a long moment, nobody moved. Nobody breathed. A human male stood in the doorway. His name was Kang T. He was 32 years old. He worked as a cargo hauler on a small ship called the Wanderer. He had brown eyes and short black hair. He was not a soldier. He was not a hero. He was just a man who moved boxes from one planet to another. But right now, he did not look like just a man. His flight suit was torn in a dozen places. The gray fabric was stained dark with blood. His left arm hung at his side at an angle that made the Kalari nurse feel sick. Bone pushed against skin near his elbow, trying to break through. His face was pale white, covered in sweat that dripped down his chin. A deep cut ran across his forehead, and dried blood covered half his face like a mask. And yet he was standing, walking, moving forward one step at a time. In his right arm, he carried a woman. She was wrapped in an emergency thermal blanket. Her eyes were closed. Her body was limp. But T held her carefully, gently, like she was made of glass, like she was the most precious thing in the universe. The waiting room remained frozen. The aliens watched as T walked past them. His boots left bloody footprints on the clean white floor. Each step looked like it cost him everything he had. His legs shook. His jaw was tight, but he did not fall. He reached the reception desk. The Kalari nurse behind it was named Myra. She had worked at this hospital for 15 years. She had seen terrible injuries. She had seen death, but she had never seen anything like this. "She needs help," T said. His voice was quiet and rough. He spoke in Galactic Common, the language that all species used to talk to each other. His accent was thick, but his words were clear. "Internal bleeding," he continued. "Head trauma. Her name is Yoon Hana. Please help her." Myra's hands moved without her telling them to. She pressed the emergency button under her desk. Alarms began to sound. Doors opened. Medical teams rushed into the room. T turned and found a hover stretcher near the wall. He walked to it slowly, each step more painful than the last. Then, with great care, he placed Hana on the stretcher. He arranged her arms at her sides. He pushed a strand of hair away from her face. "You will be okay now," he whispered in Korean. "I kept my promise." The medical team surrounded Hana. They attached monitors to her body. Numbers and readings filled their screens. One doctor shouted orders. Nurses prepared equipment. In seconds, they were wheeling her toward the surgery wing. T watched them go. He watched until Hana disappeared through the doors at the end of the hall. Only then did he allow himself to move. He walked to the nearest wall and leaned against it. His breathing was fast and shallow. His whole body was shaking now. The adrenaline that had kept him moving was starting to fade. The pain that he had been pushing away was coming back, and it was coming back with fury. Dr. Vell arrived 60 seconds later. She was the chief medical officer of Orion Station Medical Center. She was a Kalari, which meant she had a hard shell covering her body, 6 limbs and large compound eyes that could see in many directions at once. She was very old by Kalari standards, and she had spent her entire life studying medicine. She had also spent many years studying humans. Humans were rare in this part of the galaxy. They had only joined the galactic community a few decades ago. Most aliens knew very little about them. But Dr. Vell had made it her mission to learn. She had read every human medical text she could find. She had studied their biology, their history, their strange and terrifying home planet. And yet, as she ran her scanner over Kang T, She found herself struggling to believe what she was seeing. "This is not possible," she said quietly. Her assistant, a young MOVA nurse named Aura, stood behind her. Aura was new to the hospital. She had soft blue skin and large black eyes that were now wide with fear. "What is it?" Aura asked. "What do you see?" Dr. Vell turned the scanner so Aura could see the screen. The display showed a three-dimensional image of T's skeleton. Red marks covered the image. So many red marks. 17 fractures, Dr. Vell said. His left arm is broken in 4 places. He has 2 cracked bones in his spine. 3 of his ribs are fractured. His left knee has a torn ligament. His right ankle is sprained. He has a hairline crack in his skull. Aura's mouth fell open. 17 fractures, but he was walking, he was carrying another person. "Yes," Dr. Vell said, "he was." She turned to look at T. He was still leaning against the wall. His eyes were open, but they were unfocused. He was fighting to stay conscious. "Human," Dr. Vell said, stepping closer to him. "You need to lie down immediately. You need surgery." T's eyes found hers. For a moment, he seemed to look right through her. "Is Hana okay?" he asked. "She is in surgery. Our best doctors are working on her." "Then I will wait." Dr. Vell made a clicking sound with her mandibles. It was the Kalari expression of frustration and amazement mixed together. "You do not understand," she said. "Your body is broken. By all medical knowledge I possess, you should not be conscious. You should not be alive. How are you standing?" T was quiet for a long moment. The waiting room had gone silent again. Everyone was listening. Myra at the reception desk, Aura with her wide eyes, the Vorn security officers who had forgotten about their weapons, the MOVA child peeking out from behind its mother. "She needed me to stand," T said finally, "so I stood." Dr. Vell did not know what to say. In her many years of medical practice, she had learned that the body had limits. Every species had a point where pain became too much, where damage became too great, where the mind simply shut down to protect itself. Humans, she was learning, did not follow these rules. "Please," Aura said softly, stepping forward, "please let us help you. You have done enough. You brought her here. She is safe now." T looked at the young nurse. Her blue skin reminded him of the ocean on Earth. Her kind eyes reminded him of Hana when they were children. "She is my family," he said. "The only family I have. I cannot rest until I know she will live." "I understand," Aura said. "Then we will help you wait. But please sit down. Let me clean your wounds. Let me stop the bleeding." T considered this. Then slowly he nodded. It took 3 nurses to help him into a wheelchair. His body had finally started to give out. His muscles were cramping. His vision was blurring, but he refused to close his eyes. As they wheeled him toward the examination room, he kept his head turned toward the surgery wing. Waiting, watching, refusing to fall. Behind him, Dr. Vell stood in the middle of the waiting room. She looked at the bloody footprints on the floor. She looked at the scanner in her hands, still showing those 17 red marks. "Remarkable," she whispered to herself. "Absolutely remarkable." The MOVA child tugged at its mother's arm. "Mama," it said in a small voice, "what is that creature?" The mother looked at the bloody trail leading away from the door. She looked at the wheelchair disappearing around the corner. She thought about what she had just witnessed. "That," she said softly, "is a human." And in that moment, everyone in the waiting room understood that they had seen something they would never forget. They had seen a man who should have fallen refuse to fall. They had seen a broken body carry another body to safety. They had seen love stronger than bone and blood and pain. They had seen what humans could do when someone they loved was in danger. And it terrified them. And it amazed them. And they would tell this story for the rest of their lives. The examination room was cold and bright. White lights hummed above. Medical machines beeped and clicked. The walls were lined with tools and scanners that Kang T did not recognize. He sat in a special chair that adjusted to fit his body. Straps held him in place, but they were loose. He could leave if he wanted to, but he did not want to. He had made a deal with the nurses. He would let them examine him, and they would bring him news about Hana the moment she was out of surgery. So he sat, and he waited, and he tried very hard not to scream. The pain was everywhere now. It lived in his bones. It crawled through his muscles. It burned in his chest with every breath. The adrenaline that had carried him through the cargo bay, through the rescue shuttle, through the hospital doors, was completely gone. What remained was raw, pure agony. But T had learned long ago how to live with pain. He had grown up in an orphanage on Earth where food was scarce and winters were cold. He had worked on cargo ships since he was 18, doing hard labor in dangerous conditions. He had broken bones before. He had been hurt before. This was worse, this was much worse, but it was not impossible. Dr. Vell entered the examination room with two other doctors behind her. One was a tall being with gray skin and 4 eyes. The other was a small creature covered in soft brown fur. They were specialists, T learned. Experts in alien biology who had studied humans from afar. They had never seen a human up close. "May we?" Dr. Vell asked, holding up a scanner. T nodded. The 3 doctors circled him like scientists examining a new discovery. They ran scanners over his body. They took samples of his blood. They measured his heart rate, his brain activity, his hormone levels. They whispered to each other in languages T did not understand. Nurse Aura stood in the corner, watching everything. She had been assigned to stay with T to monitor his condition and keep him calm. But she found that she did not need to keep him calm. He was already calm. Too calm, perhaps, for someone with 17 broken bones. "This is extraordinary," the gray-skinned doctor said. His name was Dr. Voss, and his 4 eyes blinked at different times as he studied the data. His body is flooded with chemicals, adrenaline, cortisol, endorphins. His nervous system should have shut down from the overload. But it did not, Dr. Vell said. The human brain has the ability to suppress pain signals. Not completely, but enough to function. It is a survival adaptation. Survival adaptation, the furry doctor repeated. Her name was Dr. Tana, and her voice was high and soft. What kind of environment requires such an adaptation? Dr. Vell's compound eyes turned toward T. She seemed to be asking permission. T gave a small nod. He knew what she was about to say. Every human knew. Earth, Dr. Vell said. The human home world. It is classified in galactic records as a Category 4 death world. The room went silent. Category 4 was the second highest danger rating for planets. Category 5 planets were completely uninhabitable, filled with radiation or toxic gases or temperatures that could melt metal. Category 4 planets were survivable, but only barely. They were worlds of predators and poison and natural disasters, worlds that tried to kill everything that lived on them. Humans evolved on a death world, Dr. Tana whispered. Yes, Dr. Vell said. Their planet has extreme temperature changes, massive storms, earthquakes, volcanic eruptions. The oceans are filled with creatures that hunt and kill. The land is covered with animals that have claws and teeth and venom. Everything on Earth is trying to survive, and everything else is trying to eat it. Dr. Voss shook his large gray head. How did they survive long enough to develop intelligence? By refusing to die, T said. Everyone turned to look at him. His voice was rough and tired, but his eyes were clear. Humans are not the fastest animals on Earth, he continued. We are not the strongest. We do not have claws or fangs or thick skin, but we have 2 things that nothing else has. He held up one finger. Endurance. A human can run for days without stopping. We can chase prey until it collapses from exhaustion. We can walk across deserts. We can climb mountains. We can swim oceans. Our bodies do not give up. He held up a second finger. Will, the human mind can tell the human body what to do. If we decide to keep going, we keep going. If we decide to stand, we stand. Pain is just information. Damage is just a problem to solve. As long as our brain is working, we can choose to fight. The doctors stared at him in silence. Aura stepped forward. Is that what you did today? You chose to keep walking. T looked at her. Yes. Even with 17 broken bones. Even when your body was screaming at you to stop. My body wanted to stop. My mind said no. Dr. Vell made a sound that might have been laughter or might have been horror. In most species, the body controls the mind in moments of extreme trauma. The brain shuts down. Unconsciousness takes over. It is a protection system. Humans can override that system, T said. Not always, not forever, but long enough to do what needs to be done. Dr. Tana's fur was standing up all over her body. It was a fear response, T realized. She was afraid of him. How far did you walk? She asked quietly. About 2 kilometers, maybe a little more. Through the damaged ship, carrying another person. Yes. With broken bones and internal injuries and failing life support. Yes. Dr. Tana turned away. She could not look at him anymore. The idea was too much for her gentle mind to process. But Dr. Vell moved closer. Her compound eyes studied T's face with intense curiosity. She had spent years preparing for this moment, the moment when she would truly understand what humans were. I have a theory, she said. May I share it with you? T nodded. Humans did not just evolve to survive on a death world. They evolved to protect each other on a death world. Your pack instincts, your tribal bonds, your concept of family, these are not just social behaviors. They are survival mechanisms. She pointed to the door that led to the surgery wing. When you saw your friend injured, your brain did not register your own pain as important. It only registered the threat to her. Your entire biology shifted to a single purpose: save the member of your pack. T was quiet for a moment. Then he said, Hana is not just a member of my pack. She is my family. Tell me about her, Aura said softly. T closed his eyes. The pain was getting worse, but thinking about Hana made it easier to bear. We grew up together, he said. In an orphanage in Seoul, that is a city on Earth. We had no parents, no relatives. The orphanage was cold and crowded. There was never enough food. The older children were cruel. He paused, remembering. Hana was small, weak. The other children bullied her. They took her food, they tore her blanket, they made her cry every night. What did you do? Aura asked. I protected her. I gave her my food. I shared my blanket. When the older children came for her, I stood in front of her. I took the beatings instead. Dr. Vell's mandibles clicked softly. You were a child yourself. Yes, I was 10 years old when I made her a promise. I told her that as long as I was alive, she would never be alone. She would never be hurt. I would always protect her. He opened his eyes and looked at the doctors. Today I kept that promise, that is all. The room was silent again, but this time the silence felt different. It was not fear or confusion. It was something else, something like understanding. Dr. Voss spoke first. In my species, we do not form bonds like this. We are born, we grow, we die. Each individual exists separately. That sounds lonely, T said. Dr. Voss considered this. I never thought of it that way, but yes, perhaps it is. Dr. Tana had turned back around. Her fur was lying flat now. Her eyes were wet. In my species, she said, we form bonds with our birth family only. We love our parents and our siblings. But the idea of choosing someone, of making them family, that does not exist for us. Then you do not know what you are missing, T said. Chosen family is the strongest family. We do not love them because we have to. We love them because we want to. Aura wiped her large black eyes with the back of her hand. She was crying, T realized. The Mova could cry just like humans. I think I understand now, she said quietly. You did not walk through that ship because you are strong. You walked because she was waiting for you, because you love her. T smiled for the first time since entering the hospital. It was a small smile, tired and full of pain, but it was real. Yes, he said, that is exactly right. Dr. Vell stepped back. She looked at the other doctors. They looked back at her. Something had changed in that room, something important. We should begin treatment, Dr. Vell said. His bones will not heal themselves. Actually, Dr. Voss said, looking at his scanner, they already are. Human bone tissue is regenerating at a remarkable rate. His body has started the healing process automatically. Another adaptation, Dr. Tana asked. Yes, humans heal faster than almost any species in the galactic records. Broken bones, torn muscles, damaged organs. Given time and basic care, they can recover from injuries that would kill most other beings. Aura laughed softly. It was a sound of wonder and disbelief. Is there anything humans cannot survive? T thought about this question. He thought about all the humans who had died throughout history, who had fallen in wars, in disasters, in accidents, who had lost their battles against pain and injury and time. We are not immortal, he said. We die like everyone else, but we make death work for every inch it takes from us. We do not go quietly. We fight until the very end. He looked toward the surgery wing again. Somewhere behind those doors, Hana was fighting her own battle. He wished he could be there with her. He wished he could hold her hand and tell her that everything would be okay. But he had done his part. He had brought her here. Now it was her turn to fight. And he knew with absolute certainty that she would win. Because she was human. And humans did not give up. 3 hours before Kang T walked into the alien hospital, he was sleeping. The Wanderer was a small cargo ship. It was old and ugly and made strange noises when it flew. The paint was peeling. The engines rattled. The life support system sometimes forgot to work, but it was home. It had been home for T and Hana for the past 5 years. They were making a supply run to a mining colony on the edge of the galaxy. The cargo hold was full of food, medicine, and equipment. The journey was supposed to take 3 days. Easy money, simple work. T was sleeping in his cabin when the first alarm went off. The sound cut through his dreams like a knife. He was on his feet before he was fully awake, his body responding to years of training and instinct. Red lights flashed on the walls. The ship shook beneath him. He ran to the cockpit. Hana was already there. She was standing at the controls, her hands moving fast across the panels. Her face was pale but focused. She did not look scared. She never looked scared. What is happening? T asked. Debris field, Hana said. Old battleground. The sensors did not detect it until we were already inside. Something hit the port engine. Another impact rocked the ship. T grabbed the wall to keep from falling. Shields, he asked. Failing, we are losing power. T, I think we need to. She never finished her sentence. The next impact was massive. It tore through the hull like paper. T heard the sound of metal screaming, of air rushing out into space. He saw Hana thrown from her chair. He saw her hit the bulkhead with a horrible sound. He saw her body fall to the floor and stop moving. Everything after that happened in pieces. T remembered falling. The gravity system was failing and he was suddenly weightless, then slammed against the ceiling, then thrown against the wall. Something cracked in his arm. Something else cracked in his ribs. The pain was like lightning, white and blinding. He remembered calling Hana's name. Once, twice, 100 times. She did not answer. She lay on the floor like a broken doll, blood pooling around her head. He remembered crawling to her. The ship was spinning now. Gravity came in bursts, pulling him in different directions. Every movement was agony, his arm was useless, his ribs ground together with each breath, but he crawled, inch by inch, second by second. When he reached Hana, he checked her pulse. It was there, weak but there, she was alive. That was all that mattered. The cargo bay was venting atmosphere. T could feel the air being sucked away. He had minutes, maybe less, before the oxygen was gone completely. He needed to get Hana somewhere safe. Emergency suits were stored in a locker near the cockpit. T dragged himself to it, found one suit, and dragged himself back to Hana. He put the suit on her first. Her body was limp, so it took forever. His broken arm screamed at him. His cracked ribs stabbed him with every movement. But he got the suit on. He sealed it. He activated the oxygen supply. There was only one suit. He had to choose. T chose Hana. He wrapped her in an emergency thermal blanket. Then he picked her up. His broken arm hung useless at his side. He used his right arm only, cradling her against his chest. She was not heavy. She had always been small. But right now, with his body falling apart, she felt like she weighed 1,000 pounds. He started walking. The cargo bay was a disaster. Crates had broken free from their straps and were floating everywhere. Sparks flew from damaged wires. A fire was burning somewhere in the back. The hull had multiple breaches, and through them, T could see the cold stars of space. The air was thin now. Each breath gave him less oxygen than the last. His vision started to blur. His head felt light, but he kept walking. He reached the manual controls for the emergency bulkheads. The automatic systems were offline, but the manual override still worked. He pulled the lever with his one good arm, bracing Hana against his chest. The door ground shut, sealing off the cargo bay from the rest of the ship. Air, he could breathe again. Not well, but enough. He kept walking. The ship was still spinning. The gravity was still unstable. Every few seconds, the floor would become the wall or the ceiling. T bounced off surfaces. He fell and got up. He fell and got up. He fell and got up. Each fall broke something new. He felt his knee give out. Something tore inside it. He stumbled but did not stop. He felt his ankle twist at a wrong angle. More pain joined the symphony already playing in his body. He did not stop. One of the crates came loose and hit him in the back. He heard his spine crack, a sound that should have made him scream. Instead, he just kept walking. He reached the engine room. The docking thrusters were here. The main engines were destroyed, but the docking thrusters were separate systems. If he could activate them, he could stop the ship from spinning. He could stabilize their position. He set Hana down on the floor, propping her against the wall. Then he turned to the control panel. His vision was fading in and out. The thin air was making his brain slow. His fingers felt clumsy and far away, but he knew these controls. He had repaired them 12 times. He could do this in his sleep. He could do this dying. He activated the thrusters. The ship shuddered. The spinning slowed, then stopped. Normal gravity returned, weak but steady. Next, the distress beacon. T found the emergency panel and activated the signal. A small light blinked green. Help would come. Someone would hear. They just had to survive until then. He sat down next to Hana. He pulled her into his arms. She was still breathing, still alive. The suit was keeping her safe. He was not wearing a suit. The air was still thin. His body was still broken. He did not know how long he could last. But that did not matter. What mattered was her. He started to sing. It was an old Korean song, a lullaby their caretaker at the orphanage used to sing when the children were scared. T had not thought about that song in years. But now, in the dark and the cold, with death waiting nearby, the words came back to him. He sang to Hana. He sang about mountains and rivers, about flowers in spring, about a mother waiting at home for her children to return. His voice was weak and broken, but he sang anyway. Time passed. He did not know how much. Minutes felt like hours. Hours felt like days. Finally, he heard a sound, a ship approaching, a docking tube connecting, a door opening. Voices, alien voices, speaking in galactic common. "Hello, is anyone alive in here?" T tried to answer. His voice came out as a whisper. He tried again. "Here, we are here." Lights appeared. Figures moved through the darkness. A Vorn pilot found them first. He was tall and covered in green scales, and his yellow eyes went wide when he saw what was in front of him. A human male, barely conscious, holding a human female in his arms, blood everywhere, bones clearly broken, damage that should have killed him many times over. But his eyes were open, and when the pilot reached for Hana, T pulled her closer. "Careful," T said. "She is hurt, be careful with her." The pilot nodded slowly. He had never seen a human before. He had heard stories, but stories were nothing compared to this. "We will be careful," he promised. "We will take you both to the hospital. You are safe now." T looked at him for a long moment. Then, finally, he allowed the rescue team to take Hana from his arms. He did not remember much after that. He remembered being lifted onto a stretcher. He remembered the cold of space through the shuttle window. He remembered someone asking him questions that he could not answer. But mostly he remembered Hana's face, peaceful, sleeping, alive. He had kept his promise. The rescue shuttle docked at Orion Station 40 minutes later. The medical team was waiting. They took Hana first, rushing her towards surgery. T refused the stretcher. He refused the wheelchair. He refused everything. "I will walk," he said. The Vorn pilot tried to argue. "You cannot walk, your injuries." "I will walk." And he did. 2 kilometers through the wreckage of his ship, 40 minutes in a rescue shuttle, and now the final stretch, through the station corridors, through the hospital doors, to the place where Hana would be saved. Kang T walked. Not because his body allowed it. His body had given up long ago. He walked because he refused to stop. He walked because Hana was watching, even if she could not see. He walked because he had made a promise to a little girl in an orphanage 20 years ago. "You will never be alone. I will always protect you." Some promises were stronger than bones. Some love was stronger than pain. And some humans were too stubborn to fall. The surgical theater was the most advanced room in Orion Station Medical Center. It had machines that could rebuild organs, tools that could repair damage at the cellular level, technology that seemed like magic to species who had not yet reached the stars. Yoon Hana lay on the operating table, surrounded by this technology. Doctors worked on her brain, carefully repairing the damage from her impact with the bulkhead. Other doctors worked on her internal organs, stopping the bleeding that had been slowly killing her from the inside. In a room 3 corridors away, Kang T was having his own surgery. He had finally agreed to treatment, but only under one condition: no full sedation. He wanted to stay conscious. He wanted to know the moment Hana was out of danger. The doctors argued with him, but he would not change his mind. Dr. Vell worked on his arm first. The bone-knitting technology of the Kelari was remarkable. Tiny machines entered his body and found the broken pieces. They aligned the fragments perfectly, then fused them together with controlled energy. The process was painful, but it worked. "You should be sleeping through this," Dr. Vell said as she guided the machines through his fractured ribs. "I cannot," T said through his teeth. His hands gripped the sides of the bed. His whole body was tense, but his eyes were open. "The pain will only get worse. We still have many bones to repair." "I know, keep going." Nurse Aura stood by his head, monitoring his vital signs. She held a cool cloth against his forehead, wiping away the sweat that kept forming. She had never seen anyone endure something like this while awake. "May I ask you questions?" she said softly. "It might help distract you from the pain." T gave a small nod. "Tell me about Earth," Aura said. "Tell me about your home." T closed his eyes for a moment. When he opened them, there was something distant in his gaze, something far away. Earth is beautiful, he said. It is dangerous, but it is beautiful. We have oceans that stretch forever, mountains that touch the sky, forests so thick that light cannot reach the ground. We have deserts of sand and deserts of ice. We have everything. It sounds wonderful, Aura said. It is, but it is also hard. The seasons change. Sometimes it is hot and the air feels like fire. Sometimes it is cold and the water becomes solid. Living things must adapt or die. A bone in his spine was being repaired now. T's body jerked involuntarily. He gasped, then forced himself to continue talking. When I was young, I lived in a city called Seoul. It was crowded and loud and full of people, but I was alone. My parents left me at an orphanage when I was a baby. I never knew why. I never knew them. Aura felt her heart ache. The Muva were a species of deep emotions. They felt things strongly. And right now, she felt sadness for this human who had been abandoned as a child. That must have been hard, she said. It was, but then I met Hana. His voice changed when he said her name. It became softer, warmer. The pain seemed to fade a little. She was 5 years old when she came to the orphanage. I was 8. She was so small, so scared. The other children were cruel to her because she was different. She had a problem with her legs. She could not run like the others. They called her names. They pushed her down. They made her cry. Dr. Vell listened as she worked. She had never heard a human talk about their childhood before. She had not known they could feel such emotions. What did you do? Aura asked. I protected her. I did not know why at first. I just saw her crying and something in my chest hurt. I wanted to make her stop crying. So I stood between her and the bullies. I told them that if they wanted to hurt her, they had to hurt me first. They hurt you instead. Many times, but I did not care. Every time they hit me, they were not hitting her. Every bruise on my body was a bruise not on hers. It was a good trade. Aura was crying again. She could not help it. The Muva cried easily, but this was more than easy tears. This was something deep and true. You were just a child, she said. You should not have had to protect anyone. Maybe, but I wanted to. And when I looked at Hana, when I saw her smile because I was there, I felt something I had never felt before. What was it? Purpose. I had a reason to exist. Someone needed me. Someone was happy because of me. For the first time in my life, I mattered. Dr. Vell finished with his spine and moved to his knee. The damage there was severe. The ligament was torn completely, but the machines could fix it. The machines could fix almost anything. When did you leave the orphanage? She asked, joining the conversation. When I was 18. That is the age when human children become adults. The orphanage could not keep me anymore. I had to leave. What about Hana? She was 15, 3 more years until she could leave. I was supposed to go alone, find a job, build a life, forget about the orphanage and everyone in it. But you did not forget. No, I could not leave her there. I made a promise. I told her I would come back. I told her that when she turned 18, I would be waiting outside the gates. We would leave together. We would be a family. Aura wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. Did you keep that promise? T smiled. It was a real smile, full of memory and love. I worked for 3 years. Every job I could find, construction, factories, cargo ships. I saved every piece of money. I learned how to fly a shuttle. When Hana turned 18, I was waiting outside the orphanage gates with a small ship and a plan. The Wanderer, Dr. Vell said. Yes, our home. We have been flying together ever since. 8 years now. We have seen so many worlds, met so many species, had so many adventures. He paused. A shadow crossed his face. She is everything to me. Without her, I am nothing, just a lonely man floating through space. With her, I have a purpose, a reason, a family. Dr. Vell stopped working. She looked at T with her compound eyes, trying to understand. In Kalari culture, family was biological. You were born into a family, and that was your family forever. The idea of choosing someone, of making them family through love and promise, was foreign to her. But looking at T, she understood it for the first time. You would die for her, she said. It was not a question. Without hesitation. And you would live for her, even when living means pain, even when every breath is suffering. Especially then, dying is easy, living is hard. Anyone can give up and fall. It takes strength to keep standing. I will not leave her alone, not while I can draw breath. The surgery continued for 2 more hours. T's 17 broken bones were repaired one by one. The machines worked their magic. The doctors monitored and adjusted. And through it all, T stayed conscious. He talked about Earth, about the food they ate as children when they were lucky enough to have food, about the games they played in the orphanage yard, about the cold winters when they would huddle together under one blanket, keeping each other warm. He talked about space, about the first time they saw an alien species, about the strange planets they had visited, about the cargo they had moved and the people they had met. He talked about Hana, about her laugh which sounded like music, about her stubbornness which matched his own, about the way she sang to herself when she thought no one was listening. And through it all, Aura and Dr. Vell listened. They learned things about humans that no medical text could teach them. They learned about love and loyalty, and the strange, wonderful bonds that humans formed with each other. When the surgery was finally complete, T lay still on the bed. His body was wrapped in healing patches. His arm was in a regeneration sleeve. His vital signs were stable, stronger than they had any right to be. "The surgery on your friend is complete," a voice said from the doorway. T's eyes flew open. A young Kalari nurse stood there, holding a data pad. "Is she alive?" T asked. His voice was desperate. "She is alive. The surgery was successful. She is stable and recovering." T closed his eyes. For the first time since the accident, he let himself breathe. Really breathe. Deep and slow and full. "Thank you," he whispered. "Thank you." Aura took his hand. Her blue skin was cool against his warm palm. "You can rest now," she said softly. "You have done enough. She is safe." T looked at her. His eyes were wet. Humans could cry too, she realized. Even the strong ones. Even the ones who walked through fire with broken bones. "I cannot rest yet," he said. "I need to see her. I need to be there when she wakes up." Dr. Vell stepped forward. "That is not possible. You need to heal your body." "My body will wait. It has waited this long. I need to see Hana." The 2 women looked at each other. They knew they could not stop him. They knew that if they tried to keep him in this bed, he would tear out the tubes and drag himself to her room. Humans were impossible. "Very well," Dr. Vell said with a sigh. "We will move you to her room, but you must stay in bed. You must let the healing process work." T nodded. "I will, I promise." They wheeled his bed through the corridors, past curious nurses and staring patients. Aliens watched the human pass, the strange creature who had walked into their hospital with 17 broken bones. When they reached Hana's room, Aura helped position T's bed next to hers. Hana was sleeping, her face peaceful, her chest rising and falling with steady breaths. Machines monitored her condition. Everything was stable. T reached out and took her hand. "I kept my promise," he said quietly. "I told you I would never leave you alone." Hana did not answer. She was deep in healing sleep. But T swore he saw her smile just a little at the sound of his voice. He settled back against his pillow. His body was exhausted. His mind was fatting, but his hand stayed wrapped around hers. "Rest now," Aura said from the doorway. "We will watch over you both." T nodded, and finally, for the first time in what felt like forever, he let his eyes close. He did not let go of Hana's hand. Not even in sleep. 3 days passed. Kang T did not leave Hana's side. He slept in the bed next to hers. He ate his meals in her room. He talked to her even when she could not hear, telling her stories about their adventures and making plans for the future. The doctors came and went. They checked his healing progress and shook their heads in amazement. Human bones grew back faster than any species they had ever seen. The machines helped, but it was his own biology doing most of the work. His body was rebuilding itself from the inside out. Nurse Aura visited every few hours. She had become fond of the strange human who refused to rest. She brought him books to read, data pads with human entertainment, and sometimes just herself, sitting quietly while he waited. On the morning of the third day, Hana opened her eyes. T was awake instantly. He had been dozing in his chair when he heard her stir. He leaned forward, his heart pounding, as her eyelids fluttered and then opened. She looked confused at first. The ceiling was unfamiliar. The room was wrong. She tried to move and pain shot through her head. "Easy," T said softly. "Do not move too fast. You are safe. You are in a hospital." Hana turned her head toward his voice. When she saw him, her eyes filled with tears. "T," she whispered. Her voice was rough from days of silence. "I am here. I am right here." She reached for him and he took her hand. They stayed like that for a long moment, just holding on, not needing words. Then Hana looked at him more closely. She saw the bandages, the healing patches, the dark circles under his eyes. "What happened to you?" she asked. "Nothing important." "T." He sighed. He could never lie to her. Not really. "The ship was damaged. You were hurt. I carried you to the rescue shuttle and then to this hospital." "How far?" "Not far." "T, how far?" He was quiet for a moment. "About 2 kilometers, through the cargo bay, through the corridors, across the station." Hana's eyes went wide. "You carried me 2 kilometers. You are not heavy. You are an idiot." Despite everything, T laughed. It hurt his ribs, but he laughed anyway. "You are welcome," he said. Hana tried to sit up. T gently pushed her back down. "The doctors say you need rest. You had brain surgery, internal surgery. You almost died." "But I did not." "No, you did not." She squeezed his hand. "Because of you." T shook his head. "Because you are strong, because you are a fighter. I just got you to the door. You did the rest." Hana smiled. It was a weak smile, tired and pale, but it was the most beautiful thing T had ever seen. "We make a good team," she said. "The best." The door opened, and Dr. Vell entered with Aura close behind. When the doctor saw that Hana was awake, her compound eyes brightened. "Excellent," she said, moving to check the monitors. "Your brain activity is strong. Your organs are healing well. You are recovering faster than my projections indicated." "Humans are tough," Hana said quietly. "Yes," Dr. Vell agreed. "We have learned that very well these past few days." Aura approached the bed with a warm smile. "It is good to see you awake. Your friend has been very worried. He refused to leave your side even for a moment." Hana looked at T. "That sounds like him." "He told us about your childhood," Aura continued. "About the orphanage, about the promise he made to you." Hana's expression softened. "He told you that." "He told us everything. We understand now why he did what he did. Why he walked when he should have fallen. Why he stood when he should have collapsed." Hana turned to T. Her eyes were shining with tears. "You stupid, wonderful man," she said. "You could have died." "But I did not, and neither did you. That is all that matters." The story of Kang T spread through the station like fire. Nurses whispered about it in the corridors. Doctors discussed it in their break rooms. Patients shared it with their visitors. Within a week, everyone on Orion Station knew about the human who had walked through a dying ship with 17 broken bones, carrying his friend to safety. Commander Bren, the Vorn security chief, requested a formal interview. T agreed. though he did not understand why anyone cared about what he had done. The interview was recorded and sent to the Galactic Council. It was supposed to be a simple incident report. Instead, it became something else entirely. Beings across the galaxy watched the recording. They saw the small human sitting in a hospital bed, bandages still covering his arms, answering questions in simple, straightforward language. They heard him describe the walk through the cargo bay. They heard him explain how he had ignored the pain, ignored the damage, ignored his own dying body. When the interviewer asked why he had done it, T gave the same answer he had given Dr. Vell on the first day. She needed me to stand, so I stood. The recording was shared millions of times. Species who had never met a human watched it with growing amazement and fear. These creatures from a death world, these beings who could override their own biology through sheer will, who could love so deeply that they would destroy themselves for another, these humans were something new, something different, something terrifying, and something wonderful. Dr. Vell added her own notes to the recording. She explained human biology in scientific terms. She described the adrenaline, the endorphins, the pain suppression. She outlined the evolutionary history that had created such resilient creatures. But at the end of her report, she wrote something personal. I have studied humans for many years. I thought I understood them. I was wrong. Humans are not simply resilient. They are not simply strong. They are beings who have decided that love is more important than survival, that protecting their family is more important than protecting themselves. This is not biology. This is choice. And it is the most remarkable thing I have ever witnessed. 6 weeks later, T and Hana were ready to leave. Their injuries had healed. The bone-knitting technology and their own human biology had done their work. T could walk without pain. Hana could think without headaches. They were whole again. But they were not the same. Something had changed between them. Not their love, which had always been strong, but their understanding of it. T had always protected Hana. Hana had always relied on T. Now they both knew, without any doubt, exactly how far that protection went. It went beyond death. It went beyond pain. It went beyond the limits of the body and the mind. It went everywhere. The mining colony they had been supplying sent a message. They had heard what happened. They wanted to help. Their old ship, the Wanderer, was beyond repair. But they had another ship, a newer one, that they wanted to give to T and Hana. You saved our supplies, the colony leader said in the message. You could have abandoned the cargo to save yourselves. Instead, you fought to keep it safe. That cargo was medicine for our children, food for our elderly. We owe you everything. The new ship arrived at Orion Station a week before T and Hana were scheduled to leave. It was bigger than the Wanderer, faster, safer. It had shields that could detect debris fields, life support that never failed. It was perfect. Hana wanted to name it something new, something that represented their fresh start. T had a different idea. He painted the name on the hull himself, in the old Korean script that he and Hana had learned as children. Aura stood beside him, watching him work. What does it say? She asked. T stepped back and looked at his work. The characters were simple but beautiful. The promise, he said. It is what brought us together. It is what kept us alive. It is what we are. Aura nodded slowly. She understood. On the day they left, the station came to say goodbye. Doctors and nurses who had treated them, security officers who had guarded their room, patients who had heard their story, even Commander Bren, who stood tall and silent, offering a Vorn salute of respect. T shook hands with everyone. Hana hugged Aura so tightly that the Muva nurse cried for 10 minutes straight. Thank you, Hana told her, for taking care of us, for taking care of him. He would not let me do much, Aura said, laughing through her tears. He is very stubborn. I know, I love that about him. Dr. Vell approached last. She stood before T and Hana, her compound eyes studying them one final time. I have learned much from you, she said. More than I learned in a lifetime of study. You have shown me what humans truly are. What are we? T asked. Dr. Vell considered the question. Then she answered. You are hope. You are stubbornness. You are love so powerful that it breaks the laws of nature. You are terrifying and beautiful and completely impossible, and I am honored to have met you. T bowed in the Korean style, a gesture of deep respect. Hana did the same. Then they walked to their new ship. They climbed aboard. They sealed the hatch. The Promise launched from Orion Station 10 minutes later, heading toward the stars. Behind them, Aura watched from the observation deck. She would remember this moment for the rest of her life. She would tell the story to her children and her children's children. In her quarters that night, she opened the Book of Wonders. It was an ancient Muva tradition, a collection of the most remarkable things her people had ever witnessed. Each generation added to it. Aura picked up her writing tool. She thought for a long moment. Then she wrote. I have seen a human walk with 17 broken bones. I have seen a man carry his family through fire and darkness, through pain and death, through everything the universe could throw at him. I have seen what love looks like when it refuses to fall. When the universe breaks a human, they do not shatter. They stand. She closed the book and looked out the window at the stars. Somewhere out there, Kang T and Yoon Hana were flying together, making new stories, keeping old promises. And the galaxy would never forget them. Because that is what humans did. They survived, they protected, they loved. And when everything tried to knock them down, they stood tall. Always.